coming at you. Here's my bike from the top of one of the parking garages in downtown, because I like going where I'm not allowed to. There's a sign right there that says don't ride your bike here, but whatever. Wanted to apologize for making my last video 20 minutes long. No one wants to watch a 20-minute long video. I don't want to watch 20-minute long videos. So I'm going to try to keep it pretty short this time. What I wanted to discuss was pretty much just the realities, like who cares about your feelings? What is the day-to-day on-the-ground strategy for how to handle when you're the sort of person who people can't quite figure out at first? That's what's interesting to me. So I started a new job, and I had an experience with a coworker who had been pretty nice, and he asked me about halfway through the shift during one of our breaks, hey, I have this really, like, terrible, awful question, and I knew what it was going to be, so I was like, okay, go ahead, ask. And he asked, so what's your gender? And I said, I don't answer those sorts of questions. I can't remember my exact words, of course, but my response was basically along the lines of, you know, some ambiguity is good for you in your life. I don't like answering those sorts of things. You can just learn to live with it. And it takes some work, it takes some strategy, but I have found that I can get away with those sorts of answers. It makes me feel a lot better than trying to come up with something and saying and ha. But it is sort of scary to tell people, no, fuck off. But if you feel like that's something you can try, definitely, you know, if it's someone who's already been sort of nice, a good chance is if they ask what your pronouns are or what your gender is instead of a sort of what are you question. That means they're, you know, somewhat educated and not just confused. One of the nice things is that living in a much more liberal town, living in a college town with a lot of young people, when things are better for trans people, they're better for everybody, you know? When people can change their pronouns, change their gender, and wear whatever they want, I feel like that's a definite step in the direction of having a world where people don't feel like they have to be forced into boxes. But it can make things a little awkward if that's not the sort of question you're used to, or if you're used to trying to get by just passing under the radar. It can definitely be super, oh, it's so windy. It can definitely be super uncomfortable to, you know, be reminded, oh good God, I actually am ambiguous. In my experience, one nice thing is that the worst sort of dudes, because I've had jobs. I had a job where I worked with someone else who was non-binary and went by they. And one of the coworkers, when we were having a shift together, he was this gross older dude, and he asked me, you know, well, what is she? You know, well, does she have a innie or an outie? He used much more rude language than that. And it wasn't until I had that conversation with him that I realized, oh, he's just reading me as a standard dude. And that's way better, because that meant I didn't have to deal with that shit. And the worst sort of dudes who are gonna be, like, really open and gross tend to also be the best at just assuming that I'm a guy. So I have no interest in stopping that, because it's this awesome shield from those sorts of tools. I chose the windiest spot. Damn. I might have to re-record this. Sorry. But it should be short anyways. But anyways, that's just sort of my experience, what I do to deal with those sorts of situations. If someone's a tool, I, you know, don't give them any opening to ask. And I just hope that I'm passing as male. Admittedly, this was last year. My voice has gone up, and my partner insists that it hasn't, but I'm pretty sure my facial hair is faded. It makes me very sad. And if you feel comfortable with it, definitely try telling people, hey, I'm ambiguous. Give that a shot, see where it goes. I really want to live in a world where no one asks, where everyone's just where like everyone's ambiguous, and the way that I can add to that future coming true is by living it now. But that's my strategy. I definitely would be open to, you know, starting a conversation and hearing about how other people deal with that kind of thing, because I think it's interesting, and you know, the lived reality of, you know, how do you get by is way more interesting to me than getting into, you know, feelings and genders, and I don't believe in souls. Brain sex science is pretty shit, so, like, you know, I definitely would be interested in hearing perspectives. Okay, I'm cutting myself off this time. Laters.